how to kind of exercise the bottoms of the feet. So I was saying, look in a mirror with love, and just check out how you're standing. So my family has this too. So I have the camera down low, so I'll keep squatting. But anyway, if you take a look at my feet, if you can see them, and we're going to line them up with the knees. So if the feet are rolling in, so you're starting to become more flat-footed here, what's happening is it's driving this bone out, which creates a misalignment in the knees. So the practice that we were practicing is standing in a way that feels good with your hips. So kind of like the number 11, or some versions, some people like their toes out a little bit. But if you notice that this part of your ankle is rolling inward, it's going to drive your tibia out, and that's going to misalign the knee. So what we're working on is practicing lifting the arches. So imagine I'm standing. I just am like this so I can look at you. So imagine you're standing. So if you feel like your ankle, this one, when you look down, is going inward and you're rolling in, we're practicing we call it the Cinderella foot, lifting the arches. So if your feet are in the number 11-ish, I'm just turning so you can see, and your ankle, the inside, is in, we're going to practice lifting this muscle by, we call it shortening our feet. So imagine you're trying to lift the inside arch, but you're shortening your shoe size, full size. So we're pulling this big toe mound in. So I'm going to just stand up here. So let's say we're rolled in. We're going to root sort of the four corners of our feet and then try to create a short foot. So I'm lifting my arch. We're pulling our foot size shorter so the arch lifts. And you might feel your feet start to kind of cramp up or almost squeeze. And then the other action to wake up the hips is, so we're going to straighten up the ankle so it's not rolling in. We're going to straighten it. We're going to root the big toe mound. You don't have to grip the toes. We root the big toe mound. We're actually going to create a bit of a dragging outward. So imagining while you're rooting your feet the way you're practicing lifting the arches, you're going to have like a pretend elastic band around your shins and also try to drag your feet out while you lift the arches. That should turn on the hips. So that exercise that your physio was saying, where you're doing kind of like the sidewalk, what you're doing when you stretch that elastic band is you're strengthening your hip flexors, or sorry, your glute med as the exact one of the muscles. So anyway, we're going to combine rooting feet, getting those ankles straight, rooting the big toe mound so you feel that big toe mound grounding you, slightly shortening your foot so your arch lifts, and also creating an action where you're dragging your feet out so your hips wake up. And then you can combine that with a tiny bit of bending the knees while you drag out so you're feeling your bum wake up and you can straighten, but just make sure your knees are not hurting when you're bending them. And we're not bending the knees this way. We're sitting back and down and creating that action. So that action that we're practicing can be done with legs straight, and it can also be done by shifting back, kind of sticking our butt out, dragging the feet out to the sides, straighten, sit, and straighten. So that's the foot example. We also were talking about tightening our core. So I tend to be sort of it's called an anterior tilt. So the front of my pelvis drops down. So I'm working on all of what we're doing, but also creating, so like the top of my pants, the front to the back, instead of it tipping like this, I'm trying to create a little bit more of an evenness in the front and the back while I do all of that. That helps us turn on this muscle, which is really important to keep our, this is our femur bone, in line, rather than if we tip forward. It's sort of like when the wheels of our car are out of alignment. So starting with the feet, hip width. If the ankles are rolling in, we're pulling the big toe mound back, trying to get the feet to exercise. Imagine you've got an elastic band around your shins. We're tugging that elastic band this way to wake up our hip muscles. And it could include a very slight tuck of the tail. So we're including this, and then you can bend and straighten,